So as I was saying, ADHD it's kind of like a affliction of extremes, in that there's two of the characteristics are like hyperfixation or like complete, not inattentiveness, but like indifference. Yeah, I'm not interested. Yeah. Like I won't do it if I'm not interested in it, right? Yeah. If it's not going to give me the dopamine payoff, I'm not going to do it. And a lot of it's related to dopamine. And that's why so many who have patterns and behaviors of ADHD have got a predisposition to addictions. Because addictions give you payoff. Yeah. And they give you payoff loops as well. This book that I read, Dopamine Nation, which talked a lot about that. Not about the neurodiversity kind of angle, but more so about the payoff of dopamine and the loops that you can get in the payoff, and how like once it becomes really dysregulated, then it's like the peaks and troughs are really high. And that's basically how addiction works. You get the high of the escape, and then you have the shame of the behavior, and then you try and like come back around to find another high to get away from the shame, and that just goes around in a loop and a loop and a loop. But what my thinking was this morning, this thought that came to my head was that management of ADHD behaviors, because it's not necessarily like you do this thing, you have ADHD. It's like, all right, you're playing out this pattern of hyperfixation, or you're playing out this pattern of an unnatural dopamine response. And in the context of two people like us who are like outside the matrix, we kind of work on our own terms. I mean, you work for a business, but your hours are very flexible. We could do nothing all day if we wanted to. And it's funny, like some entrepreneurs are like that. Some other entrepreneurs that I know, and entrepreneurs have crazy high instances of ADHD. Their day will be whatever chaos they decide interests them the most at that particular moment, at that spontaneous moment. And that's the gift of like a creative founder, is the spontaneity and the rapid ideation. But it's also the curse of the entrepreneur, which is bright shiny object syndrome and running to the next idea and can't consistently execute. What my thinking kind of came to was my life has quite often been this harmonization of extremes. And, you know, like I joke about Peter's life is, you know, level 11 all the time. And it's not all the time, but at times. And for me, it's been this, so now my brain's getting distracted with beeps. How to tell your ADHD. It's been this harmonizing of extremes. And so the extremes might be one end of the relational spectrum of attachment of like being super avoidant, and the other end being like super anxious. And then finding, okay, what does the middle ground of that look like? Yeah. Or it might be completely unhealthy eating patterns on one end of the spectrum, or like completely militant, obsessive, either undereating or obsessive regimes with particular eating and plans. Yeah, totally, right. And I've done that. I've been down that road. And then I think like for most normal people, they'll sit a little bit more in the band of more in the middle of the bell curve. Whereas for someone who's neurodivergent, the extremes are exciting. For me, it's exciting. It's fucking exciting. It's like, can I eat steak every day for a year? What will happen to my body? I'll go to the doctor, I'll get my bloods tested. Like, let's see what happens. Like, that's interesting to me. And then the other end of the extreme was like not eating any meat at all. The question is like, all right, well, what does the healthy middle look like? And I think once I got the awareness, once I became aware of my predisposition to like go all in on something, it's like, oh, okay, cool. I can see that pattern now. I can see that pattern playing out in all kinds of different areas of my life. So now when I approach something and I feel myself becoming obsessive, or I feel myself like wanting to dive down this crazy rabbit hole, I look at it and I go, okay, what is the spectrum here? What might be at either end of the spectrum? And not that healthy is always in the middle, but what does integrated potentially look like for me? Because I can plan every moment of my day down to minute detail and be super productive. And if I wanted to, I could work 16 hours a day and then just sleep for the others if I really wanted to.
Really wanted to.
Yeah. That would be interesting. That would be interesting to me. But is that an integrated lifestyle when there's family, there's fitness, there's food, there's social interaction, there's other things outside of, you know, business interests? So I think the curious question is, and this is where I think of, okay, how can I be in service to entrepreneurs? You know, there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are just in the chaos of their entrepreneurship. How can I be of service to them and communicate in a way where it's not just like, you're a naughty boy for chasing the bright shiny objects, or girl for chasing the bright shiny object, but it's more so, okay, let's have a look at how you're playing things out. How might you find harmony in how you're working? And I don't know exactly what that harmony looks like yet. Anyways, that's my ramblings of the day. Hence, that's what a podcast or a publication or something servicing entrepreneurs that resonate with patterns of behaviors of whether it's ADHD or autism spectrum. And plenty of people will say to me, oh yeah, I'm on some kind of spectrum, like kind of like in passing, right? And especially those who have like gone to have tremendous result. And by that I mean they've made outlier amounts of money or outlier amounts of business growth or business success. There's usually something not typical about them. I'm not saying it's always neurotypical or non-typical, but there's something not typical about them. But plenty of people just have that, whether it's an obsessive or hyperfixation type vibe, and that's not enough to qualify as congratulations, you have ADHD, but it's enough to go, okay, that's an interesting commonality that many entrepreneurs have, that obsession about something.
I feel like people on the spectrum have not been brainwashed. Like most into
like fitting
like the
into
norm.
a box.
Yeah,
well, they don't
into-
believe in boxes.
Yeah. Exactly. There's more chances of them thinking of impossible things.
Yeah.
Impossible to the norm.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's intense creativity.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck your box. I've got a different idea.
Yeah.
Because I have a different lens on the world.
Exactly. Maybe that's how it should be. Or maybe that's how it is. Like they just have a different lens. Like they can see something else.
And that's the gift.
Yeah, that's
the gift. We call that, when it's channeled into business execution, we call that visionary founder creator energy. And there's also plenty of entrepreneurs that like struggle and never get their shit together. Never build a business, or they're the ones that have got like a different business every week. Plenty of those that are floundering, not quite actually creating anything, but those that can like either get their shit together or get a good team around them.
Having a good team is
will
very
make it
important.
work. Super important. Health and hustle.
Health and hustle.
Health first.